Good evening. This is Maestro Cretella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Argus Desert Gate. Our first player today is Haidran, playing as the Chaos Lord. The Chaos Lord is a tanky melee hero in Terminator armor. He cannot be knocked down or suppressed, and he starts out with a combi bolter and in this case, we have a power sword, because this isn't a fully leveled up Chaos Lord. Otherwise, he would have that demon sword. His first teammate is FrozenVapor, playing as an Farseer. I think this might be the DLC. The Farseer is an Eldar support hero. She fights in melee decently, but she's more about her spells. She's got Guide for that immediate buffing early on, just early on in the game. She's got a bunch of other support spells, also some spells for disabling and debuffing. Next up, we have absolutely the best Grey Knight player around. We've got Maestro Cretella playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. The Bro Captain is a tanky melee hero in Terminator armor. His best war gear is Purified Blades. He ties things up, tanks damage, and shoots his Stormbolter a bit. Next up, on the other side, we've got Phoenix, the ancient reviving bird of lore, playing as the Plague Champion. The Plague Champion is a Chaos Space Marine dedicated to the god of Nurgle. Starts out with a bolter, which does some damage over time. He can get some melee weapons, he can repair, he can heal, he can support vehicles. This is an Iron Warriors theme, new in Elite Mod. Next up, we've got Wise Windu playing as the Eldar Warp Spider Exarch, a master of the Path of the Warp Spider. He can teleport around. He's got dual death spinners as well as dual blades. Bit of a melee hero, bit of a ranged hero, more of a ranged hero, obviously. And then finally, we've got ArbitUH playing as the Techmarine. Space Marine ranged hero, although he can get an axe. Very powerful and ranged, supports vehicles very, very well, and especially good in team games with relay beacons and turrets. Alright. Anyway, it looks like in the top lane, Haidran has managed to push off many of the, we've got the Space Marines as well as, oh, you know what? ArbitUH is actually rocking the pre-Heresy Luna Wolf Space Marine theme, so they've got that really, really old Space Marine armor that looks really big and bulky. But yeah, it looks like Haidran won his opening engagement, pushing off a lot of the red team in this top lane. Meanwhile, on the bottom, we've got something a little different. We've got the Grey Knights cowering to the might of Chaos, the Plague Champion. I think kind of along with the Chaos Space Marines, winning out against the Stormtroopers as well as the Strike Squad in range, considering that they are in cover and also getting healed by the Heretics. So we've got a Bro Captain activating We Are the Hammer to close in for melee, tank any damage from the Chaos Space Marines as well as the Plague Champion. And then the idea right here, we've got some Grey Knight range squads that should ideally be able to burn these Heretics right here. The Purgation would literally be burning the Heretics. Unfortunately, we've got a Havoc halting the advance, making things quite a bit harder for here. So Phoenix winning out in his lane against me. Meanwhile, right here, we've got Rangers seemingly in a terrible position. I think lucky that the Howling Banshees right here were suppressed by the Farseer, who has upgraded to have the Ghost Helm, gives her the Mind War ability, and that was what was actually suppressing the Howling Banshees right there. Good choice for helping to control the Banshees. Meanwhile, back here, we've got all of this Chaos stuff being really, really oppressive, and the Purgation would be able to do a lot of damage to the Heretics if it weren't for this annoying Plague Champion tying them up. And the Plague Champion's not even doing that much damage to them in melee, but he just tied them up so they couldn't shoot. Alright, Purgation now starting to burn the Heretics quite literally. Meanwhile, we've got a Farseer coming into support, but unfortunately she ran into the Havoc. So we've also got a Interceptor squad coming out as a way of helping to deal with that Havoc. Howling Banshees from FrozenVapor. We are now doubling Phoenix. We had a Ranger shot go in, so this Havoc actually doesn't have that much health left. But the Interceptors teleported after being suppressed, so they weren't really able to get much of a hit on those Havocs. And all of that stuff from Phoenix just retreated out of there. Meanwhile, Haidran is actually doing pretty well to defend against. This is ArbitUH right here. ArbitUH is actually alone. So actually what happened was we had doubled Phoenix. Windu was in the middle, so then it was still not a double up on top. Alright, we've got the Chaos Space Marines and the Noise Marines out. The combination of these 3 range units actually could be used to counter the Devastator. The Noise Marines getting around, they ideally should shoot the Devastator, but I think instead they're going to have to settle for that. That's actually a pretty cool idea. I thought they were going to go for force melee, but I think that was a better idea. Using that disruption, that allows the Chaos Space Marines to fire, and that clears the way for Haidran to just keep going. One of the great things about Noise Marines is that they're great against Sniper Scouts. They have longer range than the Sniper Scouts, and of course, that Sonic Blaster even prevents them from using their explosive shot ability. So Noise Marines pretty good as a counter to Sniper Scouts. Interceptors teleport into the Plague Champion. Unfortunately, I don't know if that was such a good idea because, yeah, and I just retreat them out of there. They were about to be right in front of a set-up Havoc. And now this also got really scary because I got flanked by a Windu, doubled, but I managed to get out of there with minimal losses, although I don't know what the Bro Captain's still doing there. So doubled by Windu and Phoenix, and pretty lucky too. I think I just lost a single Purgation model. And one thing that's also scary is that right now, the blue team actually is, or the red team is already going to Tier 2. And I mean, the interesting thing, let's see, they did bash a few generators here, and they've also got better control over the contested power nodes. So they're also making shorter, less expensive builds. So they've got the tech lead all around with Windu and Arbita already upgrading to Tier 2 and Phoenix already there and almost has a Blood Crusher out. My generator is now in quite a bit of trouble. Looks like FrozenVapor lost a Ranger squad, and Frozen is now going for a flank with his Banshees and his Farseer. Meanwhile, the Interceptors most likely going to jump them into the Havoc. Just got to be very careful because there are still double heretics right here. And here actually comes the flank from FrozenVapor. Well, there was the flank, but now the Interceptors jump in on the Havoc. The Havoc in a bit of trouble, usually very vulnerable, or yeah, the Havoc definitely very vulnerable to Interceptors in general. And we have the follow-up from the Banshees, so right after the Banshees, that Havoc goes down. But already we've got a Blood Crusher as well as a Plague Fist Plague Champion. And this was around the time where FrozenVapor asked on TeamSpeak, does anyone have AV? And I think by anyone he kind of meant me. But as you can see, I'm not to Tier 2 yet. He's not to Tier 2 yet. Haidran isn't even to Tier 2 yet, and he's not that he's even in this lane. We've got a Blood Crusher bothering us, and now I've got one of the worst races for AV in the game, but I do have my Bro Captain equipped with Purified Blades. This is a great war gear, Forest Radio approved, and if you want to ask any more about what a great Grey Knight player I am, just ask him, he's my protege. Alright, Plague Champion does have a Plague Fist, so he's got some, well, he's definitely got some melee counter, so he could even use, well, I was going to say he could use the Pestilence Strike right there, but actually just chooses not to, not even necessary. Meanwhile, back up here, looks like Haidran got scared off by something. I'm not entirely sure what. Arbita doesn't have a whole lot, and we take a look at his Devastators. They got that, again, that old armor. But yeah, Arbita has surprisingly little. He got to Tier 2, but he doesn't have a whole lot of power, so he hasn't really gotten much. And the power that he has had, he's spent on war gears. So he's got a Plasma Gun as well as Signum Armor. That is going to make him very, very effective against the Chaos Space Marines, especially right now that they still don't have a Mark upgrade. Meanwhile, over here, I've upgraded to Psy Cannon, so that gives me something. That gives me one thing. Unfortunately, the Purgation are already getting tied up by the Blood Crusher, and if I keep them in much longer, they will lose a model. So I actually kind of retreat out of there, not doing very well. In fact, all around, we seem to be getting pushed back. We've got, well, we do have both Eldar as well as Space Marines up here, fully upgraded scouts, or they may not have infiltration, but they've got their sergeant. And we even have a Wraith Lord up here. Haidran doesn't have much AV. Frozen has some Wraith Guard, which does kind of count as AV, but you also need to be very careful about letting them get tied up. Meanwhile, back down here, Interceptors jumping in, and they gotta get out of there. Meanwhile, the Bro Captain is now fully upgraded. So while most of my stuff is getting forced off, the Bro Captain should be doing pretty well against a lot of the other stuff, except this is just a little bit too much melee in here, I think, for him to deal with. and he's getting a lot of sync kills, which means he's not actually doing a whole lot of damage, even though he's killing individual models. And there's another sync kill. Bro Captain probably going to have to go after that because he's going to start taking a lot of fire. Purgation's open fire on the Blood Crusher to start doing damage, and this... although they haven't destroyed the whole power farm right here, they are about to get a decap, which is going to significantly reduce our power income. We've been losing on the map control for most of the map, so we also still haven't had most of the contested resource points. So the resource income overall has definitely been favoring the red team. And right now we have, we have a play cloud, making it even harder for my lone source of AV to do anything. Anyway, I do manage to take out a heretic squad, and I do also have crack grenades on the interceptors to snare the Blood Crusher and scare it off a little bit more. FrozenVapor helping out again, has his Farseer to recapture our contested, or our natural power. Meanwhile, VP is pretty surprisingly even. I think what's keeping it even is that Haidran's doing pretty well in the top lane. I think in some cases even doing well against doubles. And what we see here, Haidran, although playing as a Chaos Lord, he is playing as the Thousand Suns. So we've got a special Thousand Suns Dreadnought right here. We also have some Thousand Suns Heretics with a bunch of hoods on both the Heretics as well as the Aspiring Champion. Let's even take a look at our Chaos Space Marines with those special faceplates.
Allies have taken a power node.
And I think what's also been helping them up top is that there's a Dreadnought, so now the red team does have to worry about AV. Rangers apparently moving in, taking some pot shots, scouting ahead. And I mean, Rangers, because they infiltrate, are great for moving ahead, scouting ahead. Meanwhile, this is a little scary now that I have yet another vehicle to deal with, and this is the Iron Warriors Dreadnought. This is an Iron Warriors Dreadnought right here. The Iron Warriors Dreadnought has a special head. He's got those, still has that Iron Warriors scheme. And now we've also got double walkers for the red team. We've got the Dreadnought, regular Space Marine Dreadnought, as well as the Wraith Lord. Right Lance taking shots, I think making it a lot harder for this Chaos Dreadnought to do stuff. And now we've actually got Phoenix moving into the middle, and I see that, so I'm moving in. I've even got my, I've got my Purgation squad right here with the side cannons. Such fantastic AV. And I've also now got a Vindicare Assassin. In my opinion, it's a pretty indispensable unit. Pretty fantastic. Devastator Marines for ArbitUH in a lot of trouble, but so are the Wraith Guard. Those Wraith Guard are in a serious trouble. Getting chased down by Banshees, hit by marked target. Wraith Guard go down for FrozenVapor, but so is the Space Marine Dreadnought, also goes down for ArbitUH. So a lot just happened right there. Bright Lance gets forced off, and now we've even got the Wraith Lord being repaired by the Blessing of the Omnicide. Meanwhile, back in the middle, I'm still being chased down. Vindicare running around. Bro Captain nearly goes down. But this is going to make things a little bit scarier for this Blood Crusher, which just took a crack grenade to the face, and we've got the Vindicare Assassin running around. Again, I think the Vindicare Assassin is a great unit. I almost think he's like... in my personal opinion, as a Grey Knight expert, he's like almost like a go-to purchase. I can't really see not getting him because you have that persistent ranged AV. He's pretty cheap to put out on the field. Costs a little bit more to get the extended operations upgrade. But overall, I think he's a fantastic unit. Bit of a glass cannon, which is why you should get the extended operations upgrade and be very careful with them. Now, this is also curious. Let's see. I've got the Strike Squad right here. The Strike Squad also has a Psy Cannon, and now they've even upgraded to have the Psy Bolt ammunition, and I'm getting a Justicar. So now I've got some AV on both my Strike Squad as well as my Purgation. Meanwhile, Chaos Lord running in. He has let the Galaxy. He has the Armor of the Inferno, but he doesn't have a weapon upgrade. I do feel that he could use a weapon upgrade. This is a pretty serious Eldar blob on top. Meanwhile, we've actually got two in the middle against Phoenix, so So it's a good thing that they're not moving in against Haidran, because he's actually alone up there against 2. And if anything, it's Phoenix getting dealt with right now. He's getting hit hard. That Blood Crusher should go down. It looks like, oh, the Vindicator Assassin finishes off the Blood Crusher, and now that clears the way for the Howling Banshees. They're just going to go after the Dreadnought. Vindicator Assassin probably going to continue shooting at the Dreadnought. The Brother Captain should do something, like he should actually fight rather than just stand there and shoot. Meanwhile, we've also got the Stormtroopers doing some range damage. The Strike Squad, very interestingly, something happened to the Strike Squad. They had a Psy Cannon, and now it has disappeared for some reason, even though they still have the plus icon. So I don't know what happened there and why they lost. Some combination of the upgrades must have resulted in them losing their Psy Cannon. Meanwhile, Bro Captain goes down, getting shanked by the Wraith Lord in the back on a retreat. Definitely have to micro that Vindicator Assassin around a lot, but he helps win that fight against the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines in melee. Right now I'm using the Turbo Penetrator rounds for the Vindicator Assassin, which are the AV rounds. But you can even just use his AV rounds against infantry. It's worse than the Exodus rounds against infantry, but at least it's still nice to use it against infantry when you want to keep the AV rounds in, the Turbo Penetrator rounds. Just when you have to deal with multiple threats. It actually makes the Vindicator Assassin, I think, pretty versatile. Anyway, I think the Plague Champion right here, yeah, definitely going to get focused down. And the Purgation, that Psy Cannon sounds so intimidating, but of course it's really not that impressive. So VPs are even at 259 to 258. Haidran has kept his Dreadnought alive, but I feel like they haven't actually been doing a whole lot like up top. A lot of the action lately has been more on the bottom, with Windu now, or rather in the middle. Windu even moving into the middle. Unfortunately, a lot of range fire. Look at the long range throw, though, on that crack grenade, but then they just got to get out of there. The Wraith Lord moves back, though, and the Chaos Space Marines move forward, while the Dreadnought stays in front. Very, very risky teleport from the Warp Spiders, but I'm sure they just wanted to use the Haywire Grenade. Wow, that was very, very nice. Those were guided Wraith Guard. He used Guide on the Wraith Guard, possibly also used Doom on them or something as well, because that was really long range, and they killed that Wraith Lord pretty easily. That was like a single volley, and that finished off the Wraith Lord. Definitely Guide there. I could tell Guide by the range, which is very uncharacteristic, or just very unusual. Anyway, I've got some Stormtroopers just bashing generators as a way of gaining some red, as well as my Stormtroopers, I feel, don't contribute a whole lot to combat at this point. So I'm just having them go around. Oh my god, brutal hit on the Strike Squad, getting knocked over, and then follow-up fire from the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines as well as the Dreadnought hurt quite a bit. But if anything, I think Phoenix moving into the middle might have helped us out a bit, because now he's not putting any pressure on our generator farm, which is, instead of making it a 1v1 between us, which I was kind of losing, he's going into the middle where now I'm working with the support of my teammates, and I can kind of complement them with my fantastic Grey Knight play. Anyway, Devastator's opening fire, just shooting at long range. Plasma Cannon goes in, halting the approach of the Devastators. But look at these long-range Wraith Guard. They must be getting guided a lot. Although this is a risky situation for them, but I think a lot of Heretic models are dying because there are double Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. Stuff is blowing up, but the Bro Captain, the hero Bro Captain coming in to support, going to start tying up those Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. A lot of stuff going on over here. But we've got a Predator tank out already from ArbitUH. Although I'm the last player to Tier 3. Everyone's actually in Tier 3, but still, that's like the first... Well, there's a Fire Prism out for Windu over here. And we've got Banshees running around chasing things. Banshee's actually about to get hit pretty hard because the Bro Captain's going after them. We're about to have some force melee from the Dreadnought. Banshees might go down. It's a pretty close call, but I think that one model is just barely going to get out of there. And here we go with a War Gear from the Warp Spider Exarch. This is the Shimmer Orb War Gear. It creates that field, as you can see. It prevents all incoming and outgoing ranged fire, so it's very, very good, used for capping in definitely in team games, also in just even 1v1 games when basically you just want to just cap. Very also good for like late game capping when there's a lot of range fire. Anyway, the Chaos Dreadnought taking a lot of range fire, and if it weren't for these chosen Plague Marines, I would say that Chaos Dreadnought would have been in a lot of trouble taking shots from the Purgation as well as the Vindicator Assassin. But these chosen Plague Marines, a new melee unit exclusive to the Plague Champion, introduced in the latest version of Elite Mod. They are very, very tough. They don't do a whole lot of damage, but they also have an ability that allows them to create zombies of whatever they kill. And we've got the Stormtroopers kind of on background duty, on backwater duty, or like they're at a backwater station. They're just going around bashing, even though they don't bash that quickly or that efficiently. They just contribute to the least to actual combat. So they're just going to go bash generators to build up my red. I think I'm almost at 500 red because I want like an orbital bombardment. In fact, we've got potentially nukes sitting for Haidran and FrozenVapor with both over 500 red. Our red team players are not actually saving up red for nukes. They must be using it for other things. ArbitUH definitely using it for some Blessing of the Omnissiah. I definitely saw one of that. He's also got double Predators, something also very powerful with Blessing of the Omnissiah, as well as just vehicle plays, because now we've also got double fire prisms from Windu. We've got my strike squad that mysteriously do not have their side cannon anymore, even though it says they have a side cannon, and a lot of things are now going on. It looks, ooh, even a Chaos Predator from Phoenix. So all told, we've got about 6 vehicles from the red team, and definitely not as many from the blue team, but we do have some Paladins, some very pretty pink Paladins upgrading to their own side cannon. Meanwhile, over here, we've got this Fire Prism, I think, in a lot of trouble. It's going to take another missile volley, and it goes down. So, Fire Prism down for FrozenVapor. He's still got his Wraithguard around. And we've got a back cap on our natural VP, so although we've got a VP lead, we're starting to get in a little bit of trouble, but my interceptors do jump in. They're accidentally in range stance, though, so they're not meleeing. Meanwhile, back over here, definitely more interesting things over here. Haidran definitely going to lose his Dreadnought, and the Vindicator Assassin needs to retreat out of there. Unfortunately, that was definitely a lost engagement on top, a huge amount of vehicles with Haidran losing a bunch of stuff. Looks like he lost Heretics, lost his Dreadnought. Now he's actually getting a Land Raider Phobos. We had some Paladins running in, but there also was just too much stuff, and we just decided to ultimately run them out of there. Meanwhile, we've got some more backcapping squads, some backcapping Warp Spiders from Windu. He does still have his double Fire Prisms, but there is a Haywire on the Chaos Dreadnought, so the Banshees are going to run in, but they're taking a huge amount of damage, not going to be able to finish it off. Paladins charging in, but they're also charging in much, much more slowly. Wow, the Howling Banshees actually go down. That Plague Cloud on retreat, but so does that Dreadnought. There is even an Imperial Abyss, unfortunately not actually hitting much. And the Paladins, they may have helped to take out that Dreadnought, but they also took a lot of damage, so they're not going to be able to do too much for a little while. Or they're going to risk losing a model. So triple cap for the red team. It was even like 168 to 168 for a while, but quickly ticking down against us. So Blastmaster going to set up, although they're also going to get shot in the face. Purgation trying to move in. What a fantastic AV unit they are. And Vindicator Assassin also just keep him in the back, which is the right place to keep him. And I think we might be waiting a little bit. We don't have a whole lot of time to wait. So I'm sending a strike squad over, seeing if maybe we can get a back cap. I like this. We have a call for spread tanks by Wise Windu, and they spread a little bit accordingly. Knowing that we do have FrozenVapor, an Eldar player, a potential Eldritch Storm could come out of him, and if they group up their tanks a little too much, that could be multiple tanks lost in one nuke. If they spread them out, they'll probably just lose one tank in a nuke, and an Eldritch for a single tank, I feel, is not the most efficient use of, certainly not for just a regular tank. Stormtroopers again, just running around, gonna bash some generators, build up some red. And it's actually now, we're pretty much tripling this top lane. Pretty much just fighting over the VP, because that's obviously the most important. Just gonna send the Bro Captain in to get the decap while everything else fights. Even though the Bro Captain would contribute a ton to actually fighting, there is an orbital bombardment that's obviously from me. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be hitting much. In fact, the orbital bombardment is hitting absolutely nothing. This Eldritch, on the other hand, right on top of Tax and Scouts, does actually hit stuff. Even managed to get some side hits on the Fire Prism, so we now have Paladins also chasing down the Predator, so we've got a lot of vehicles from the red team in trouble. Land Raider Phobos takes out one of the Predators, or takes out one of the Fire Prisms, and should also take out this Predator next. So one Predator down, one Fire Prism down, and suddenly the red team not looking nearly as strong, and it's actually the blue team with the big army. But the red team still applying some VP pressure. We did have a Farseer who managed to get a decap on the red team's natural, but the red team moving around with their Chaos Space Marines manages to get a decap on our natural. So the VPs don't go much in our favor, despite us managing to win our engagement on top with the use of our nukes. And I mean, I like that. Just we used the nukes and it did help us, even though my nuke actually hit absolutely nothing. The follow-up nuke from the Eldritch Storm really did help us enough, and even though the orbital hit nothing, it did like kind of pressure them to move back. So that kind of puts us at least slightly now in a better position, since we've got a lot of stuff. Paladins took a lot of damage in that engagement, and I don't feel they actually did too much killing, but just walking forward, they definitely applied a lot of pressure and I think cleared the way a little bit for other things. Here, I'm actually trying to make a play for their natural VP. Unfortunately, it's not going to work out that well. I throw a Psych Out grenade to suppress all this stuff, but as it is, the interceptors were getting suppressed by the Chaos Shrine of Nurgle, and that shrine is quite a little bit more resilient and resistant than I thought it would be. So we even have a Phobos now from Phoenix, and we've still got this Strike Squad level 3, but again, they lost their Psy Cannon. It's gone. So that must be some kind of a bug. My guess is that the model with the Psy Cannon was lost and was never replaced for some reason. And Purgation, level 3 Purgation. It is very scary to see them getting chased by Banshees, though. We must have levels on a lot of squads. Level 4, double level 4 Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. That's one of the scariest things in this game. Double level 4 Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. We've got a level 5 Chaos Lord, a level 8 Farseer, and a level 3 Brocat being a boss. But yeah, this Farseer now has the armor of the Asurian, switched out that rune armor and has the armor of the Asurian. Still has the Doombringer. Meanwhile, we've got level 4 Plague Champion, level 4 Warp Starter, level 4 heroes for everyone on the other team. We still got a lot of red team armor now with a Chaos Predator. Chaos Predator actually in a huge amount of trouble, exposing its rear armor to the Phobos, taking a lot of hits. Got hit by a Haywire. Anything will finish off this Chaos Predator, but it looks like nothing is in range. And here we also have the Land Raider Phobos. Oh, that was a more guided Wraith Guard taking out that Predator from a long distance. Meanwhile, dueling Phoboses, but in a bit of trouble. We've got a Haywire going down on one. We've got some Plague Marines taking shots on the other. They're both at about half health. Looks like that's an Eldritch, and I don't think Windu or Haidran, or I mean, I don't think Frozen or Haidran see it. That Eldritch, very, very powerful. But we've also got the combination of the Time Field and the Wraith Guard doing a lot of damage to this Phobos. Phobos now in trouble. Another Eldritch Storm, and one Phobos goes down. Both Phobos is down. And here we even go with the Interceptors throwing a crack grenade on the Predator, and we've got plenty of follow-up from the Purgation as well as the Paladins, although that Predator is pretty far back. And here's also the Wraith Guard as well, probably going to go for the Predator and try to finish it off, but they're not attacking ground, so they were attacking where the Predator used to be. So instead, it's this persistent range fire from the Paladins that might actually take it out. They seem to now have gotten out of the range of the Paladins, and I've switched targets, going for the D-Cannon. D-Cannon now in a little bit of trouble, and now they should actually start targeting the Fire Prism. Meanwhile, a lot of VP pressure going in all around. Chaos Terminators from Phoenix spawn, and they're just going to tank damage and decap our natural VP. 68 to 80 VPs at the moment. And a grenade going in doing a lot of damage to them, but they can just tank damage long enough to at least get the decap. Now I think they will teleport away, hopefully before they lose models. They do not lose any models. They do need to be very careful, though, because there is this D-Cannon that can take shots at them. Although, yeah, and the D-Cannon take shots, very lucky to still not have lost any models. But the Plague Champion is trying to Well, he's trying to get the Chaos Lord off the point because it's actually a single cap for the red team. All right, 1-to-1 with my strike squad of all things that is missing its side cannon, getting the cap on the contested, and I've even got my interceptors in the background, decapping their natural, getting suppressed by the Chaos Shrine of Nurgle, and they're going to have to get out of there. But they at least get the decap because the red team has gotten our natural, courtesy of the Plague Champion as well as, and wow, we had a Venerable call in from ArbitUH, but this Venerable, I think, might be slightly too ahead, and we've got a lot of stuff going in. We've got the Wraith Guard. Here's the Plague Marine Snare, and now there's support from my Paladins as well as my Strike Squad, which aren't going to do anything because I think in the middle of this game I never actually realized that they lost their side cannon because that's not actually supposed to happen. Alright, Paladins do get stunned, but there is Stoicism, so the Venerable Dreadnought is dead. The Venerable Dreadnought going to try to do as much damage as it can, maybe get a Paladin model. But it's done. Anyway, we've got Windu again throwing down that Shimmer Orb. He's also got the Phase Armor. And he's about to get the cap on that VP. He gets the cap. And then the Warp Spider Exarch actually in a bit of trouble. But there is a Singularity. Oh my god! The combination... Wow, that was an instant wipe on my Strike Squad. So my Strike Squad is done. Something about the combination of the Fire Prism as well as the D-Cannon, or the Plasma Cannon Devastators. Here is... Look at that. Oh, that was a Dirge Caster into an Imperial Abyss. Not everything bought the bait and retreated into the Abyss. The Howling Banshees from Windu might have to retreat kind of through the middle. Ooh. The Howling Banshees actually don't die, but came very, very close. And there's another Phobos down, taking another shot. Oh, and hey, here are my Stormtroopers. They're not doing anything. Anyway, Purgation totally lost track of them, really going hard for the Fire Prism, but don't finish them off. Vindicare Assassin trying to take shots at all these retreating vehicles. Again, just that persistent ranged AV threat. I mean, the Vindicare Assassin, it's not really on the front lines. You don't really see it doing that much, but I feel like it's doing a lot. And it is level 3. Stormtroopers bashing generators, hoping to get another orbital bombardment if possible. And I'm making a squad of Grey Knight Terminators. Ooh, a squad of... What was that here? That was some Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines from... Must have been from Phoenix, because now he has no Chaos Space Marines whatsoever. We've even got Force Melee from FrozenVapor's... Oh, and there's actually a phase shift to prevent any kind of cap on this point. He can't cap it with his Warp Spider Exarch, although Frozen just moves in with his Dire Avengers, and that still just delayed our capturing of the point a little bit. Anyway, we've got Autocannon Terminators from Phoenix. He's definitely lost a lot of squads. Howling Banshee's in a lot of trouble. We've got an Autarch from Frozen. Didn't even see that called in. Meanwhile, while that Autarch gets in a little bit of trouble, Red going in, gonna see if they can capture this point maybe, but there's a lot of range fire, a lot of things to stop them. We've got a grenade going in on the Blastmaster. Does not kill any models, but does scare them into retreating, and that does make it a lot easier to get that point back. But what's not gonna make it easier are these double level 4 Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. That is absolutely ridiculous. Still no weapon upgrade on this level 6 Chaos Lord, even though he's level 6. But yeah, I mean, he just opens fire with these Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. Oh god, those tacks are done. Those tacks are practically getting wiped. Interceptors jump in, but they're now in a huge amount of trouble. And what else is going on? Meanwhile, in the middle, we've got Grey Knight Terminators, not Paladins, running around, possibly going to finish off, certainly doing a lot of damage to these Blastmaster Noise Marines. Single cap game, 40-10. In favor of the blue team now, and I think it's the red team that's had the lead for a little bit. But here we go with a bunch of units going for the cap on that point. If the Farseer can't finish it, the Grey Knights should be able to take it over, but actually it looks like the Farseer is going to finish it by herself, and then the Grey Knight Terminators actually take it over, and that should actually be the game in favor of the red team. No, the blue team. It should be the game in favor of the blue team. That is the end of the game. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.